Hey everyone, welcome back to Newsroom. Sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I had a few security issues going on with another person that was said to be a influencer's name. They were actually trying to hack me. They were trying to get me to set up money on an exchange, which was an exchange that had no escrow and was also known for scams and fraud. They get you to open up these exchanges, and then once you open them up, they put money in your account, they wait for you to load it up, and then later on down the line, they rob you. So so I was very frustrated. Not only was I frustrated, but the girl that actually sent this guy to me in the very beginning, she expressed that she had been actually had a pipe bomb thrown at her car within days prior to that. The whole situation and all made me completely withdraw from doing news yesterday. So that was right. I wasn't here yesterday, but I have thought about everything over the night, and I'm going to go ahead and give the weekly report. Today's report is going to be just a little bit different. I'm not going to be sitting in front of the news, but I am going to review it. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's go back to the beginning of the week. The head of the Supreme Judicial Council and U.S. Ambassador joint regards to judicial files. Judge Fadi Zadin discussed joint judicial files between Iraq and the Iran with U.S. Ambassador Elena Romanovsky, highlighting the ongoing discussions between the two nations. For the most part, the U.S. Ambassador is back on the scene. Let's go. And next week, we have the Deputy Head of Parliamentary Labor Committee, Hussein Arab. They warned that the money of the depositors and banks is in danger due to the delay in the central bank's measures to sell the dollar, favoring the black market. Arab stated that the government prevents the circulation of dollars but allows the opening of official accounts in the dollar currency. Some banks do not have cash from the Iraqi dinar due to the absence of reinforcement from the central bank. He plans to ask parliamentary questions to the governor of the central bank early next week during parliamentary sessions. The Fundamental Alliance aims to reach the leadership of the state through diplomatic process with the ballot box. In 2021, the votes of independent reach 2,480,000 votes, indicating that there's a need for a large political coalition. And the U.S. State Department says we did not issue sanctions on Iraqi banks, but rather decisions to strengthen the banking system. That is a lie. Yes, they did. Although the U.S. State Department has backed the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani's efforts to combat corruption and improve the financial sector, the U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State of Iraq and Iran, Victoria Tilio, emphasized the strategic and long-term relationship between Iraq and the U.S. She highlighted the U.S. Treasury's Department dialogue with the Central Bank of Iraq to strengthen the banking sector and improve Iraq's economic reality. Tilio also highlighted the U.S. support for al-Sudani's effort to strengthen the Iraqi banking system and maintain transparency in transactions. The U.S. is working with Iraq in various security, economic, and environmental sectors and is eagerly waiting on al-Sudani's visit to further joint cooperations. Next, whose fault is it? A senior source has revealed that the U.S. Federal Bank is responsible for the failure to release financial allocations in the Iraqi budget. The source attributes that the delay to problems with the U.S. Federal Bank's intervention and the Ministry of Finance possessions. The Iraqi parliament approved a 2023 budget of $198.9 trillion, equaling $153 billion in June, which includes record spending on the government wage bill and development projects. The delay has been criticized by a member of the Parliamentary Oil and Gas Committee, Ali Sadoun. I think I'm saying that right. Jeanine Placheret is back. She's talking about reforms. The United Nations representative in Iraq, Jeanine Placheret, confirms that the Iraqi government has made significant reforms in the financial and banking sector. She highlighted that the launch of electronic platforms for selling foreign currencies, measures to hand over money thieves, increase private sector investments, and prioritize social services like healthcare and education. The government has developed a national strategy to combat drugs and psychotropic substances and prioritize water scarcity. Bashir welcomes ongoing efforts to achieve bilateral committees between Iraq and Turkey for border security. She emphasizes the importance of provincial council elections and combating false information. Get your news from Room Chella Smith so you're not left behind. Narcism Barzani and Washington disputes Baghdad and Erbil. The Kyrgyzstan president Narcism Barzani has shared his vision for radical solutions to dispute between Baghdad and Erbil with the U.S. State Department delegation. Barzani emphasizes the need for a federal system to be addressed Iraq's political and economic stability. The U.S. delegations renewed its support for Iraq and the Kurdistan region, focusing on resolving political and economic issues between the two sides. The meeting aimed to strengthen relations between the U.S., Iraq, and the Kurdistan region. This next article came by surprise. Iraq and BRICS. What? Wow. Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani confirms that the country's readiness to join BRICS group if invited by the founding countries. He expressed gratitude for Russia's principled stance on the Palestinians' issues and discussed the matter with the President Putin, expressing concerns for civilian lives. Now, there was no other information given, but what? BRICS? Wow. Now, I want you to remember that these articles are written by the Iraqi journalist, and then I have summarized them. So we'll see how this whole BRICS things plays out down the line. I will keep on reporting on it if I hear anything more. Again, when it came to Putin, to the Sudanese, in regards to the energy sector, the Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani met with the Russian President Putin during his official visit to Moscow. The meeting focused on bilateral relations and enhancing joint cooperation in vital fields, including the energy and oil industry. The meeting also discussed the presence of Russian oil companies in Iraq, which is witnessing a large movement in investments. The meeting also discussed regional and international issues, including the Palestinians issue, as we said before, and the right of the Palestinian people to live in dignity and justice. Now, I want to go back here for just a minute because Russia and China kind of need Iraq to reinstate their currency, in my opinion. So this could be good. We'll see how this all plays out. Okay, guys, Iraq's economy is vulnerable to the oil price drops, accounting for 90% of government revenues. Government accounts are vague and non-oil sector hinders. Iraq needs to reduce corruption and improve public finance to face oil price fluctuations. Hydrocarbon wealth is underutilized due to the armed conflict, international sanctions, and insignificant investments. Guys, we're almost done with the news here. The Sudanese returns to Baghdad after the visit to Moscow. So now Sudani is back in Iraq. The Sudanese Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani completes a visit to Moscow where he held talks with Russian President Putin on political, economic, and security issues in the region. So yeah, he's just back. So we'll just keep on going. Okay, guys, the Central Bank of Iraq suspends Western Union service for international money transfers. The Central Bank of Iraq has temporarily suspended the Western Union service for international financial transfers as of 10/12/2023 to implement modern mechanism for verifying financial transactions in line with international best practice. The bank governor, Ali Mohsen Al-Alaq, announced in September that foreign transfers would be discontinued next year and international commercial transactions would be limited to Iraqi dinars. The Middle East growth to recover in 2024. The International Monetary Fund predicts the economic growth in the Middle East and North Africa's region will accelerate in 2024. But structural challenge will remain in the medium term. The real GDP growth is projected to slow to 2% in 2023 due to the lower oil productions and tighter policy conditions in emerging markets and middle income economics. Growth is expected to recover to 3.4% in 2024, but the public sector debt remains elevated in several countries and inflation remains elevated in some economies. The region's economic growth is expected to moderate slightly to 4.2% in 2024. And guys, it's been fun. Last but not least, Rafidain Bank announced the imminent launch of the electronic reservations to sell dollars to travelers. We heard this in the past, but now the bank says in a statement that the bank's actions is in compliance with the government's directive and the instructions of the Central Bank of Iraq in facilitating the procedures for obtaining the dollars for travelers, making it easy and smoothly. The bank indicated that in the coming days, in the month of October, it will start approving the electronic reservation by filling out the reservations forms through the electronic registration link published on the bank's website. The bank has explained that the customers will review the bank's dedications to the purpose of completing the requirements for granting the dollar directly in accordance with the applicable controls issued by the Central Bank of Iraq. Okay, and that's all for today. So if you want the news daily, go to Patreon. If you want the news every Friday for the weekly review, we're still going to do it this way, but I'm going to add a service to what I can provide. And you've been watching Newsroom Weekly Review. I'm Chella Smith with your Middle East U.S. entertainment news on reforms and economics of Iraq. I bring you the latest Dinar news without having to keep up with all the different outlets. I'm here on YouTube every Friday, and now I'm also on Patreon, so don't forget to subscribe and turn those notification bells on. If you like my content, you can give me a thumbs up. If you really like my content, you can always seed a super chat or a super thanks in the comment section below. Again, thank you for being a subscriber, and thank you for visiting Newsroom Chella Smith for your trusted Dinar news. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.